an update on the jelly. Let me just move that a bit. I've reduced down the rest of the juice and I've added the pectin and the lemon juice into it, and it's set without adding any sugar. I don't know how interesting that information is. Let's give it a bit of a taste. Let's not stick my finger in. Let's use a spoon. So, as you can see, it's gone like that. So, that's interesting, that, isn't it? In my eyes. So, it means that we can set things that aren't necessarily sweet with pectin. So, that's kind of quite interesting. I need some more lemon in that. So I need to add some more lemon, and then we're going to add some sugar, and then I'm going to add the other jars of jelly back to it. So maybe it was sweet enough. And I'm also, this is just going to be me faffing around. And then, so last year, all the juice that I strained out of some apples, I made like an apple jelly, which is in there. I've just taken it out of the jar, just because I'm going to rewash that jar and use that jar to put this jelly in. So that's going to go in as well. So it's going to be a bit of a mixture of a few different things. But I think what we'll do, since that's happened, we'll add these 3 jars back of the experiments with the jelly, and we'll add that apple jelly to it. We'll bring it back up to boil. We'll add some more lemons that I've got. I've got 4 more lemons. We might have to add a bit of citric acid, and then we'll taste it, and then we'll put sugar in, the amount of sugar in that I want. I was going to put in about 3 kilos worth of sugar, but I think that's going to be too much, and because I don't want it too sweet, and I think there'll be enough sugar, or quite a lot of sugar already in with the others. So this is just an add-on to the bottom of that other video. So we'll add other things in, we'll give it a boil up, we'll give it a retaste, and then we'll kind of see how much sugar I want to kind of add to it, and then I'll probably have to do this experiment next year, even though I was kind of thinking that what I would do next year was I'd take the grapes and I'd have a go at making balsamic vinegar, because I think they make an interesting balsamic vinegar. But anyway, we'll be back. So I haven't added any sugar to that. I've just put 4 more lemons in. So the way it was bubbling would suggest that it's going to jam and set. So, but we can just give it a test by, it tastes nice. Excuse fingers. But I've just got this out of the freezer. It's something else, but we can just use this as a frozen, because normally you put a plate in the freezer and then pour the jam or jelly onto the plate, the frozen plate, and it cools it instantly, and you can see how it's going to set up. But we've got this here which will cool it down. It's a bit of meat ragu actually, I think. So we can see how it's going to set up as it cools down. So it might do the job. It might do the job. No, it's a bit thin, is that? It's a bit thin. I wanted it thicker than that. I don't want it to fail. I might do it with a bit of better pet. We can boil it. I think what we'll do is we'll boil it and add a bit more pectin, I think. It tastes nice. I don't think it doesn't want to be any sweeter. It doesn't want to be any sharper. If we add more sugar in now, it's going to make it sweeter. And there's no guarantee that it's going to set. But if we just, so I'll turn it up. Nope, wrong one. That's something else I'm doing. I'm having a busy day. But we can see from the way it'll start boiling in a minute, but we can see from the way it's boiling that it looks like it's going to set. So, like, it doesn't want to be much thicker than that. It certainly might have been the lemon juice that I put in that stopped it from setting just as much. But like marmalade sets, doesn't it? And that's Savile oranges, and that's really acidic. But it's looking like that had set as a jelly stroke jam. Yeah. So we'll just pause and we'll get it up to boiling point. Right, so that's bubbling away, and that will give the impression that that's going to set solid. Through my kind of experience of working with sauces and things, that looks like it's going to set solid, but we're barely at 100 degrees. But this thermometer is not going to be particularly exact. I should have bought one of those thermometers in Lidl the other day. I was in Lidl the other day and I was like, ooh, thermometer. Where the ones where you just kind of like, it's like a gun, and you hold it at things, and it tells you the temperature, without actually having to touch it. And I was like, ooh, could have bought myself one of those. Wish I had done now. Wish I had done. Maybe if they've still got them on offer when I go in. But that's at 100 is that. But it gives. I would have thought that would set up once it was cool. Because it looks like when I've made compotes in the past, and they kind of want to set up. When you get to something like that kind of thickness, then you kind of, well, those kind of bubbles, you're almost at the stage where it's gonna want to set, and anything more than that, it's just going to start burning itself. Like when I've boiled jam in the past. So if I needed to make like a jam sponge, I know you need to heat the jam up first to kind of melt it, then it's bubbled in that kind of way. Obviously solid is the jam, and then you heat it, it melts, and then when it's boiling it goes like that. So although it's not up to jamming point, like the jamming temperature, but when it was just the juice and the pectin and the lemon juice, it became thicker because of the pectin. Now, is that because of the pectin was a powder and it's thickened up because of the powder, or is it the fact that pectin doesn't need to get up to the temperature of 105 degrees to turn something into a jam or a jelly? Which kind of would make sense, because when you're boiling a jam, you're basically evaporating off liquid, like you're evaporating off the water in the jam, and the only reason that it gets up to 105 degrees, does a jam, is because of the amount of sugar to water ratio. So, and it won't get up to 105 until a certain amount of moisture has been evaporated off the jam. So does pectin actually need to get up to that temperature to set a jam, or is it just we need to get it up to that temperature to compensate for the sugar in the jam? So that's an interesting question, and because I'm not a master jam maker, I don't know. But anyway, we'll pause and we'll see if this gets up to any kind of temperature, and I might just pour it into the jars. It's going to be thick enough for what I want to use it for. I'm going to eat it myself. I'm going to give a bit away. I was out at friends yesterday, so I'm going to give them a jar. I'm seeing my mate, a cheesemonger, on Friday. He's going to get a jar. I'm seeing my sister tomorrow, so she's going to get a jar, and then I'll have another jar. Oh, and I've got some other friends that I'm seeing on Friday, so they can have a jar, and then I've got and then just another jar in the cupboard, just as a potential gift to give someone else. Might be just a useful thing, but the rest of it I'm going to eat myself. And if I'm giving it away, I'm eating myself. I'm not that bothered if it's going to be that thick kind of jelly stroke jam, but it's not going to get above, without boiling the absolute crap out of it or adding more sugar. It's not going to thicken up any more than that, I don't think, and I don't want it any thicker than that. And that's kind of how I want it to taste. So let's turn it off, and let's just risk it for a biscuit. If it don't work, we can put it down to a learning experience, and that can be a success. But no, I think that'll set. I think that'll set pretty well. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. And tastes nice. Tastes nice. So I don't really know what this recipe is going to be, in all honesty. But I'll put my findings in the video, and we'll see what it sets like tomorrow. We don't need to open the jar. We can just look at it from the outside, and if it's set. But we'll see how it is in the morning. Let's have a look at this. It hasn't set too well. Well, it's set, but not exactly how I'd want it. And I'm all about the honesty. You know, the idea that I wouldn't tell you the truth about this is, oh, that's not too bad. That's better than I want. That's better than I thought it would actually turn out. So I've had it in the fridge as well. So let's get a plate out and let's have a better look without it splashing everywhere. So it's gone a little bit jammy. It's gone a little bit jammy, but it's not holding its shape like a jelly or a normal kind of jam. I haven't got any jelly, like a red currant jelly, but it's the top set. So, but it's got a viscosity to it. It's just not, as you can see, it's wanting to drip onto the plate. So it's a nice consistency, but just not holding its shape. But how's it taste? No, I think that's lovely. I think that's lovely, but it's just not holding its shape. And I'm not a fan of things that are too sweet. That's not just me saying that to make out that a failure is a success. But I'm not a huge fan of things being too sweet. So it's more savoury. So it would go with cooked meats. It's just not holding its shape. The only way that I think to get to hold its shape would be to put more sugar in. So it would go more like a thick sugar syrup. It would be the sugar that's holding it together rather than the actual pectin. I don't think, maybe putting more pectin would work. Maybe kind of like doubling the amount of pectin. So it was, although I did end up putting 15 grams. So I ended up putting 15 grams of pectin in per 500 grams worth of sugar. No, 600 per 600 milliliters of what we call it, of juice. So it probably needs, like, per 600 milliliters of juice, it probably needs 20 grams worth of pectin. I think. Is that pound about right? Was it 600 milliliters? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was 600 milliliters. Yeah, so it probably could do with, per every 600 milliliters of juice, it probably could do with 20 grams worth of pectin. And I still don't think it had set it that much, but it did do with the. I'm just a little bit kind of confused. Maybe the acidity is having an effect on the pectin. But anyway, it's very nice. It's just not. I mean, it's going to be what I'm going to use it for. I'm going to have it on yogurt and things like rice pudding. So it's fine from that type of thing. But if you want it to set it on a plate, it's not going to. It's going to go all over the place. It's not going to set like a jam. I haven't got any open jam. What have we got? Have we got anything? No. Did I? No, I haven't got. I have got some jam open. So if you look at the consistency of some jam, that's a whole nother thing. Although the jam is slightly splitting out into a thinner jam. But anyway, so I don't want to have to add any more sugar. However, we know that I think more pectin's what it needs. And I think certainly if we're making a jelly, not a jam, it's like a jelly is a clear without any bits of fruit in it, so it's clear and smooth, and like should be kind of quite opaque. I think that's the right word. I think reducing the juice by half and then add the pectin and sugar, that certainly works. But I think when you're reducing I would add the pectin when you are reducing the juice, and then I'd add the sugar in at the end. So reduce the juice by half and then add the same amount of sugar that you would do. And so instead of boiling up everything together, we're kind of cutting down on the volume by adding the sugar later. Otherwise you're boiling up sugar unnecessarily. But anyway, so we have learnt something, and there's another experiment to be done kind of next year. So I'll rewatch this video next year when I'm thinking about making some more grape jelly, if that's what I'm going to do with the grapes next year. But there we go. Success from success from a certain point of view. Ah yes. So I was kind of thinking that the grapes are ready at roughly the same time as the red currants, hawthorns, and hawthorns have got lots of pectin in them. So maybe we could do a grape and hawthorn jelly, and then that would certainly set up the jelly a lot more, because there's a huge amount of hawthorns, pectin in hawthorns. So maybe that's an experiment for next year as well, that we could have a go at making some hawthorn jelly and combine it with some grape jelly. That would be interesting.